Oh, I am on right now. Welcome again to another week with Center to the Left. This week we're going to be talking about the year 2000 computer and other network problem, or Y2K for short, and I'm going to be talking with Mary Bento of Phoenix Rising. During the summer in Missoula, I started organizing with the University of Montana around the year 2000 issue, and in August I got connected with Mary and her work with Phoenix Rising. So hello, Mary.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm raring to go.
Good.
Actually, it's nighttime. We're after a full weekend of the conference.
Yeah, it is. And the conference just happened at the University of Montana. And here's a little booklet that introduced all of the different sessions that happened, and also listed all of the speakers and the sponsors from the event. About 160 people were there. Can you tell us about Phoenix Rising and your work and how this related to the conference?
Sure. Before we met in June of last year, I had met some people, went to a conference in Spokane, Washington, specifically for more of a futurist that I know. And in that conference, I met a person that asked me a question very poignantly about midway in the conference of 4 days about, do you know anything about Y2K? And I just said, well, no, I've sort of heard things about it. So he proceeded to talk to me for about 2 hours about his understanding. He is very well known now in preparedness. His name is Tom Atlee. He has websites and very good information. And he let me know about some things, sent me some material on the web and the net, and I've been involved since, and that was since June of last year. And immediately upon realizing what the ramifications are and can be about Y2K, I decided to turn over my community development organization, Phoenix Rising, into mobilizing for Y2K preparedness for Missoula and Montana, and actually the region around here, as much as I could to help people become more educated about possibilities and preparedness. And you and I started working together, I guess just about a little bit after you started talking to Janet. And
Janet Sedgley was the person who was responsible for organizing the Y2K conference at the University of Montana.
She's the coordinator. All the people on the conference except you and I were actually paid people by the departments of the university, so it was quite interesting because we had community preparedness people along with institutional or Montana University people working on the same thing. And we worked on that for, it must have been like 5 months that we worked all together. Once a week we'd meet, developing a program that we felt would help educate the community.
So when you got your start with Phoenix Rising, what was your philosophy behind the organization itself?
I started about 10 years ago getting a nonprofit status and worked with a few friends that felt there was a need for being there for people who were healers, teachers, people who worked for and with others, people who helped others a lot in culture. And so under that regimen, we worked for community preparedness and other issues. We helped people that help other people. And we did that for about 5 or 6 years, and then started helping individuals as well as groups, and stayed at that level. And I'd say that was the most important thing to us. 6 years ago was when I moved to Missoula, Montana, and at that time brought all the international conferencing work that I'd done and worked with different levels of interdevelopmental processes with people, integrated that with helping community preparedness for people who are trying to do things in the community to help others. So there we had a bit of an integration of things, and then meeting the issue of Y2K for the first time last June, it just seemed right to turn the focus around to help people work with each other and help each other about Y2K.
And so now how is Phoenix Rising focused on the Y2K problem?
What we do is what we basically did by being organized and involved in the conference at the University of Montana. We like to help people develop meetings in their families, neighborhoods, communities, give them ways, resources, and ideas how to communicate with others about it, how to find out how to do some basic preparedness, take it as far as they want to go, or just give them some basic understanding of what Y2K is and why it originated in the first place. And that's part of what we did in the conference that was so great. We had different keynote speakers, 2 of them, and they were able to give an overview of it in 2 different very good perspectives.
Right, and when Mary and I both got involved in the conference process starting in about mid-August, we met about once a week. It was a lot of work putting together the conference. Mary and I basically worked on the community focus for the conference while the rest of the people from the university basically worked on what they called the technological or technology day focus for the conference. And as part of that, we invited the keynote speakers who were there on Wednesday night, which we're going to show you some clips of. One of them was from the Triaxis Corporation, a very major player with Fortune 500 companies. He was a staff attorney that first formed the Triaxis Corporation because Steve Hawk, was so concerned about the Y2K problem. And so what we're going to do right now is show you his overview from Wednesday night, the first night, January 13th, of the conference.
It should be a good introduction, hopefully, for everyone, whether you have any understanding of Y2K or not. We can't always use what the media says, and it's a good thing to see an overview from someone who's researched it thoroughly and been involved in it for years.
Yes.
This is not a Y2K problem. I'm going to go to the keyboard here if we can. Okay, let's go back. Can't do that, huh? Okay, what I'm going to address with you this evening is basically what is the year 2000 problem? How did it happen? How did it come about that we're facing the problem the previous speakers alluded to? What is the status of the efforts to solve the problem, both in the public sector and in the private sector, here in the U.S. and throughout the world? And most importantly, what can we expect through this coming year and when the millennium change occurs, and what can we do about it? Next slide. The problem is deceptively boneheaded in origin, but it has a huge potential impact. The problem, quite simply, is the use of 2 digits as a programming convention to refer to the year, such that, June 9th, 1998 was programmed into software, hardware and computers, embedded systems, all sorts of things, with an abbreviation of 98. So when we hit 1/1/2001 or 1/1/2000, does that mean to the computer 1/1/2000 or 1/1/2001, or does it mean 1900 or 1901? The problem is that computers are essentially stupid. They don't think. They only do what they are told, what they are programmed to do. Next. So why does it matter that computers have this little problem distinguishing the year 2000 from the year 1900? Let me give you a couple of examples. Companies have confronted this problem, erroneous date-based decisions. For example, in inventory control system, if today's date is later than the expiration date, most inventory control systems are programmed to discard the product. Well, what's happened at companies throughout the country, more than one, is products that have been created with expiration dates in the year 2000 or forward Inventory control systems have looked at that 00 date, 2000, two digits, 00, and said, my God, these drugs expired 98 years ago. And there have been companies at which inventory has actually been thrown away because somebody didn't use their brain in responding to what the computer did. Another example, incorrect date calculations. If you look at 011500 and try to subtract 12/15/99 from it, you come up with 1 month plus 99 years. That is important in a lot of business applications, that date arithmetic, and it is done erroneously unless computers are fixed to recognize the year 2000. What's another example of the kind of thing that can happen? Unusable date sorts. If you, for purposes of a lot of business applications used in the private sector and the government, computers sort dates for all sorts of problems. Well, when they go to sort dates, if they recognize the year 2000 correctly, it'll go 97, 98, 99, 2000, and then 2001. If it recognizes only the two digits, it shows the year 2000 occurring before 97, 98, or 99, which leads to all kinds of mischief. Next slide, please. Where is the problem? Literally everywhere. People usually associate it with computers. Early on, it was considered a mainframe computer problem. But as time has gone by and rocks have been turned over, the problem has been discovered. Literally everywhere digitized information is used. It is found in traffic light systems, ambulance systems, 911 systems, industrial facilities, consumer products. We also have a problem with gravestones. We have a huge stock of gravestones that are already engraved with the numerals 19 and 2 left blank. Hopefully we won't have to use all of them before the year 2000 arrives. But my point is that the problem is ubiquitous. It is literally everywhere. Next slide, please. Now, how did this happen? This deceptively boneheaded problem that has such far-reaching consequences. Well, at the dawning of the computer age, which was 30 to 40 years ago, overhead processing in computers was extremely expensive. So was data storage, extremely expensive. You know, nowadays it's a commodity item that is extremely inexpensive. Back then it was a lot of money. And eliminating two digits saved a ton of money in computer programming and processing. So they eliminated two digits for the year and everything in the year 2000 would arrive. The problem is that the two-digit programming convention continued to be used for the year, 2 digits per year, continued to be used and was perpetuated for 40 years or so. Until finally people began to wake up within the last couple of years to the magnitude of the problem. Next slide. Now, during that same 40-year period when the computer programming convention was being perpetuated, computer technology, which used to be reserved for the back room and a few research and governmental institutions, proliferated at an amazing pace worldwide. Digitization became a wave that swept over the globe. At the same time, during those same 40 years, commercial, political, and social interdependence and interconnectedness, both electronically and otherwise, grew internationally, nationally, and locally at an equally amazing pace. So what happened? Next slide. The law of intended and unintended consequences, as always, prevailed. And it can be summed up in a very simple formula. A sensible decision was made at the time, 30, 40 years ago, for sensible reasons. However, complexity. Right? So, kind of summing up worldwide, we are leading the pack. Time remains for a lot of these companies to prop up a number of their mission-critical systems. But my personal prediction, based on the research and studies I've done, is that we will see substantial failures overseas. And it's nothing that we ought to be happy about, because it is going to have an indirect effect on us here in the United States. Next. All right. What can we expect in light of all this? It may sound like a gloomy picture. Is the year 2000 hype, or is it real? I actually had a reporter ask me that the other day, and I said, I can't believe at this stage that you're asking, is it real? And I can think of a lot of other questions, but is it real is not one that really registers. It is a serious problem. Will it be Armageddon? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There are people who are predicting that. I think they have their own social and other agendas that they are promoting, but this is not going to be the end of the world. Will there be disruptions in basic services affecting us as individuals and families? I think the prudent answer to that has to be that there is a substantial possibility of disruptions in basic services, such as utilities, even here in the United States. I'm not predicting that the lights are going to go out for 6 months, but we're going to have problems. We're going to have disruptions. It's going to be a rocky road for at least a week or two. Are our businesses at risk? Absolutely, unless we're prepared. How will the economy be affected? Edgar Denny, one of the leading economists in the U.S., is predicting a 70% probability of a major recession comparable to the 73 and 74 for these two digits. 1973-1974 recession as a result of the year 2000 problem. I think that's possible when you consider where the rest of the world is on solving this problem, and the fact that it could have a very substantial impact on international trade. But the real answers to all of those questions I just went through are that nobody really knows for sure. This problem is so big and so complex that anybody who tells you I have the absolute answer is not telling you the truth. All we can do is come up with our best educated guesses and follow it closely. Next. What can we, should we do about it? Panic? Absolutely not. I don't think there's cause for panic in any way about this problem. In conclusion, the year 2000 problem is serious. It is not hype, but it's no cause for panic and no cause for irrationality. Prudent preparations in our business and individual lives are important. And I think we all need to stop and think about what this problem tells us about the nature and effectiveness of our current forms of governmental and private institutions, and what positive changes can be brought about as a result of this problem.
Okay, so that was Steve Hawk from his perspective at the Triaxis Corporation on the issue, the overview of the global nature of this and how most all different systems in our lives are going to be impacted by the year 2000 problem. We also had another focus this evening from a farmer and small community business owner. Her name was Cynthia Beal. She's from Lane County, Oregon.
And both of them actually were giving us a good idea from two different perspectives, which you'll add now, Cynthia's too, about the domino effect of Y2K and why we feel that we're concerned about it in many different levels. It isn't just about home computers, and that's what you heard from Steve Hawk as well as now what you'll be hearing from Cynthia Beal.
Right, and the interesting thing about this article from October 12, 1998, Newsweek, is they're talking about the crash of '99, the economic impact of what's going on worldwide. they haven't even addressed the issue from the Y2K perspective. So right now we're going to look at some clips from Cynthia Beale.
I'm from Eugene, Oregon. My name is Cynthia Beale. I have a natural food store in downtown Eugene. I've had it for 10 years. I'm currently a sharecropper farmer. I farm blueberries. Right now, actually, supposed to be pruning 1,700 blueberry plants. And the last thing I had planned on doing this winter was year 2000 education. As many of you might know, farming doesn't wait. And so the plants don't wait, and they're going to be waiting for me when I get there. I'm also, I'm a county person. I live in Lane County, Oregon. I actually have a house residence 25 miles outside of town, so I commute. And the year 2000 problem poses some real interesting challenges for me, having a farming business out in the county and having a very active 18-person staff grocery store business in town. I think what I want to do is I want to talk to you a little bit about what I've done so far in my community with community prep and with business prep and with the infrastructure support that I've been researching. But what I want to start with is the history of my exposure to the year 2000 problem, because that's kind of an interesting story. In August of 1997, I started looking into Y2K because somebody told me that it wouldn't be a problem for me because I was a small business, and that small businesses didn't have any difficulty, and there was nothing wrong really with PCs. It was just a COBOL mainframe problem, and that I wouldn't really have anything to worry about because Bill Gates would fix it. And that was definitely, I heard that a lot of times, Bill Gates would fix it. And the other common argument I heard was there is too much money involved for this problem to be left unsolved. That simply so much money is at stake that this problem is not going to be left for us to have to pick up the pieces. I began to do a little bit of research, and the very first thing that I did was I called my electrical utility, and I said, I'd like to speak to your Y2K person, please. And the woman on the other end of the line said, what's Y2K? And so I began to explain to her, you know, the year 2000 problem, the computer glitch. And she said, oh, don't worry, honey, we fixed the payroll program. And I thought to myself, this is not quite what I had in mind. I called my main supplier, who sells me about $500,000 worth of inventory a year that I get in 3 times a week and can't do without. And I said, tell me, what are you doing with your Y2K problem? And he said, we don't have one. And I said, well, you do business with thousands of manufacturing companies across the United States, and you import food from all over the world. And I know you run a lot of trucks, and I know you have a lot of computers, and I know all of those companies you do business with do too. And he said, well, really, they'll solve it. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And we're going to drive up and down the coast January 1st, the first week of January, in the year 2000, and set all the dates forward in our computers. And at this point, I started thinking that maybe I had more of a problem than I originally thought I did. I proceeded to spend a lot of time researching on the internet, which has actually been a really good source of information. And probably the thing that got me going the most was when I stumbled across the insurance, I think it was the Insurance Industry Association of America, their website. And they had several years worth of documents about insurance and Y2K. And it turns out that for a couple of years, they have been discussing how to disallow year 2000 coverage for businesses. And this was in the fall of 1997 that I noticed this, and I began to think to myself, well, wait a minute. If we might have potential interruptions, and I'm running a lot of refrigeration equipment in my business, and I have a lot of perishable food, and I have a number of other things that could go wrong, and my business is not going to cover year 2000 related damages, do I need to move into some sort of significant contingency planning right away? I decided that I did, and I decided that what that contingency plan was going to be was to activate my community, because I realized that I alone could do absolutely nothing about this problem. That the only way that I was going to be able to do anything about this problem was if other people in my community did it with me. The challenge of having people, of getting people to attend to this problem cannot be underestimated. The challenge of getting your critical business suppliers and your critical community members to pay attention is a very difficult thing, and I want to just encourage you all to keep going if you think that this is important enough to act on, and I hope you do, because after about the 5th or 6th time, you may have the experience that I have now had, which is, Cynthia, you were right, you are right, and I now need to do something about it. What should I do? There's a fellow who did a presentation recently at one of the churches in our community, and he said a really good thing to the audience. He said, if you're at all inclined to angst or to worry about things or to kind of panic and go through some intense emotion, he said, do it now. He said, just get over it, okay? Go read a couple of the scariest Y2K books you can find and imagine all of the hardcore wild scenarios, but like put it on the calendar when you're going to stop, okay? Because you can't do it for very long. I like the point Steve made about panic. The thing I would say about panic is actually, I think on one level, we may have reason to panic, we just don't have time. So if you're panicking, you're not thinking creatively. You don't have a sense of options. You don't really pay attention to exactly what you need to pay attention to. And believe you me, there's so much work to do that you won't have time for it. One of the things that makes sense to them is when I say get interruptible. I don't know about you, but sometimes I find it really hard to get interrupted. I find it hard to afford to get interrupted. Maybe I can put something off for a day sometimes, maybe not. In business, sometimes it's hard to put something off for a week. It's sometimes hard to put a bank deposit off for a week or 2 weeks. It's sometimes hard to be interrupted in your job for a month. It's sometimes hard to watch your parents be interrupted in something significant or your children be interrupted in something significant. So one of the things that I suggest to people is that they do everything that they plan on doing now. Go ahead and get started, taking the steps that you need to take, and we'll talk a lot more about those steps in the next 2 days. But take these steps now, because you know what? There are a lot of people right now in the country, across the country, hearing this stuff right now. And they're all recognizing that there's things that they have to do. And they have to do the same things you do.
Yeah. That was Cynthia Beale, and her work in community is tied in pretty closely with our work in community here in Missoula. Some of the things that we need to look at as people, and what the things that we need to look at as far as the Y2K problem are, our city services, our county services, our state services, our electric, power, all of the things that Steve and Cynthia both are focused on, I believe.
Yeah, what we'd like to do is encourage, on this particular part, is be encouraging you all, if nothing else, to start asking questions. Ask questions to all your service providers, your garbage, your water, your power companies. Ask them what they're doing about remediation for Y2K. Just be sure that you understand where they're going, what's happening for their own companies, and how they plan on taking care of this. The city here in Missoula, for instance, has a plan. And we know that they're trying their best to work with their own city computers and how they interconnect with each other in order that they can find some answers and be prepared in 2000. The other thing is that we want to be sure that you understand from this, from both Cynthia and Steve, that the question is, how are we going to do this together? How are we going to bring something together as a community?
Yeah.
And I think that there's a focus that we can all make if we just start in simple bite-sized steps. And one of them, great one, is to start talking to your family. See what they think about it. What have they seen? What have they heard? What have they read? Step number one. Number two, talk to your friends, your extended family. Talk also to your neighbors. One of the most important things that we like to do in our work and preparedness for working with folks around this region is encourage them to get involved with their neighborhoods. A lot of us don't have neighbors that we've talked to. A lot of us don't have neighbors that we've talked to and met at all, or that we have spent much time with. This is a good way to get to do this. Find out what the resources are in your own community. Find out what people have. Do they have a concern about this? Start with square one. There are some tapes, some visual things available. We're
There are
going to
a lot
have
of
some websites at the
Yeah.
end of the show that we'll be able to give you some information. You can check with the website at the University of Montana over the
Right.
conference that we've done.
Right.
There's lots of things that we can do to help all the situation out.
Right, and
So-
we have some resources here also from the conference we could talk a little bit about.
Yeah, this one was available at the conference. Utne Reader actually put this out in just about a month ago. They raised enough money for 1 million copies to not only be put in their Utne Reader magazine, but also to be sold individually across the globe to whoever would like. This is a very appropriate, basic thing that shows you a lot of different aspects of preparedness. And you can get it from the magazine stores. I believe they're going to have this at the University of Montana bookstore. Hopefully the Good Food Store will have it in, but they're available in different places. So this is a Citizens Action Guide. There's a magazine. There's quite a few articles in lots of magazines across the globe, but this is a Y2K News specifically so that you can get some information on what's happening. This particular issue gives you different perspectives from people that have been working and researching on this for a long time. So there's
Who put
all,
this out?
this is, there's a toll-free number here. It's 877-4Y2K-CPR. There's some information that you can get from that. There are tapes available, videotapes, and lots of sources, from Ed Jordan to Tom Atlee and others. So there are, if you go into the library, if you don't have a computer at home, if you would like to search in other ways, if you don't care about computers personally, go to the library, talk to them. They'll help you search the net so you can find some information. And there are some publications that are coming out now specifically to help people understand the picture of Y2K and why that it's interconnected to all of our lives and lifestyles. And I think from what Steve Hawk has given you and what Cynthia Beale has also given you in information will help you see two different perspectives about Y2K that you may
Right.
not have known. Our hope is that you will get some little interest in starting with your family, starting with your friends. Don't start with extremeness in either position. Try to be unbiased, try to be objective as much as you can.
Right.
Y2K is a situation where we all are going to digest it individually. It's not going to be a blanket thing where we all jump on it at the same time. Some people have started before, and they're the ones that have helped us in preparedness greatly. I network with probably 5 or 6 global networks of people that have been working on this, some of them for 2 or 3 years. And some of us just came on the last 6 months or 7 months. And some are just starting, and you can tell that.
Right.
But the fact is that we're working together to try and see if we can not reinvent the wheel on a lot of this stuff to help each other work in our own communities where we are, and yet know that there's an interfacing. So to assume that everybody is literate about this is not possible, but also to assume that at least a lot of us haven't heard something about that Y2K, which stands for scientifically year 2000, and which now has been coined pretty much to represent the computer problem. There are lots of different ways that we've heard about this. I think the thing is that we're trying to focus on is you have a place to grow. There are ways that you can start. Don't be intimidated by it.
Right.
Don't be afraid to start educating yourself. it may be an opportunity. If these things do slow us down, cut the power down for a while, just cut supplies and parts and other things down so that we can't get things that we'd like to have and have the sort of lifestyle that we'd like to have, perhaps it's a time for us to be slowing down a little bit and looking at what we've created in our world, especially industrialized countries. How have we created our systems and our cultures, and take a step into slowing us down so that we can make some decisions more based on what's best for the planet and what's best for ourselves. A lot of us look at it that way, and we're trying to look at it positively for the future.
And I think that, coming back into a community focus can be a good thing, and knowing our family again and our neighbors. This is something that, all of us can use and benefit by, even if it isn't related to the year 2000 and the problems that are being expressed, as part of this.
And I think one important thing for me to say at this point, and to add to what Rick has said, is that community is a big word to some people, and sometimes it makes you feel as if you have to be out there with everybody, and you have to get along with everybody, and you have to do everything with everybody. And I don't think that that's really possible for all of us to switch around instantly and become something that we haven't been. But to pursue it in a small way with our family, extended family first, and friends, with associates at work, with, talking about it to neighbors, and to getting involved overall in the Missoulian area. Hey, in the Montana, we had at the conference, we had 8 other jurisdictions that were represented there, at least, at that conference. Other parts of the region, we had a couple from Idaho, a couple from Wyoming.
Yeah.
So this isn't just our problem. So take it a step at a time.
And also, as part of the conference, we had a MetNet station with several other school districts and municipalities around the state of Montana, where I believe 75 or 80 people participated. And we're going to show you a clip from that where William Marcus, the director of the Media Broadcast Center on campus, gives us a talk about the overview of the Y2K problem and our community organizing.
Yeah, actually, it's a very short little clip, but it's great because he really points out how we are interconnected, and it's good to find your own way to be connected.
Yeah.
For your questions, there'll be more later. I'd like to now introduce Cynthia Beal, and I think that her attendance here is very important, especially as I look at the turnout today around the state. Obviously, we have touched a sensitive nerve with this topic around Montana. And one thing we are telling people at this conference here is that this is a chance to build a sense of community, that we will need to rely on each other, the help of each other, the help of our neighbors, to make sure that we all come through this transition together and in good shape. No one knows exactly what's going to happen at the turn of the century, the turn of the millennium. But one thing Cynthia has been emphasizing, and I'll let her emphasize it more in a moment, is that we need to prepare ourselves. We need to prepare ourselves as communities, and we need to start right now. And as you are in those rooms there, as we all gather together, it's a good opportunity for you to share names and addresses, business cards, whatever, because you are the people that others in your community will be relying on. You are the people who are interested in this topic, who are the leaders in your community to help everybody understand what's going to happen. So before you leave, have someone take a list of who's there and share this information that you get with each other. There are resources in the state, Scott Lockwood and others. There are resources at your county commissioner's offices. There are resources at your universities that you can turn to. There are vast resources on the web. If you have access to the internet, use it on this question, and you can get a lot of good information there as well. So.
Oh, and we're back again. That was a very nice overview from William, and you got a chance to see all the other people who are participating around the state. So anyway, we're going to sum up and talk with people about some sites that you can go to. There are many, many sites on the internet. There are search engines where you can search under the Y2K or year 2000 to find out many, many, many sites. There are many, many articles that are being run in different magazines, newspapers now. there are many, many preparedness guides that are coming out in videos, as we've showed you a couple here today. So thank you, we're on again. And those are websites that you've seen both from community as well as government and health, and a lot of different sites which you can check out. There are also a lot of different newspaper and magazine articles, as I was saying. There was also a packet at the University of Montana of information for people who don't have computer access. You can call Janet Sedgley at 243-5452, and I believe we have about 100 more packets that she has available.
You can buy at $5.
Right,
I'd like to say that about the websites, what was just shown to you is a compilation by about 4 of us that took our time to try and find things that were simple, down to earth, and would give you an objective viewpoint as much as possible. So when you're reading articles in the newspaper or magazine, you might want to think, like you probably do about other things, don't take everything verbatim that you read or that you
Right.
hear. There are a lot of people that have a stake in how that we approach this and how we respond. And a lot of the things that are done in the paper are politically done, and some of them might be accurate, some of them might not. But some of the websites that we've just shown you are much more objective than a lot of these things that would be in the media. So pursue things in research by people that have been working in preparedness and know a bit more about Y2K. We're trying to help the media be educated. It's very difficult because it depends on their interest and their editor's interest as to what stance they take.
Right.
And this isn't about a stance. This is about a physical problem in computers that is going to happen, and some of the dates that are going to start happening are this year.
Right.
Because of the end of the fiscal year of the government, because of other tests they want to run on the grid, and so on and so forth. So
Right.
it behooves us all, at least for the protection of our family and our homes, to get involved in doing a bit more research pragmatically about this.
Right.
And I'd like to encourage you to do that. And to
So would I.
support that, we're around here trying to facilitate some of this for you and to help and encourage group processes and meetings. And whether it's your family level, your neighborhood level, or your organization's business, whatever it is.
Right.
So we didn't put that on there. I didn't think about doing that, but I'm going out of state for about, by this time, it'll be just for about 3 or 4 days after this is viewed.
Right.
So you can call my number, which is at Phoenix Rising, so that's 549-0452.
Right.
549-0452, and that would be after about the 20th of January. I would be back in state. I'm going down to do some further research with people down in Arizona for the next 10 days. So please do. You know, we'll try to be there with you to answer questions, steer you into more education. We're here to support you in the process that you want about Y2K as at your own pace. That's what it's all about. But please do get some education about it. Please be sure that you continue to pursue this question of what is Y2K.
And I think that that's why we're here doing this program also, after doing all the work in putting together this conference, is to bring as much information as we can from this process out to the public, and to talk about, you know, these resources being available. You do have some of these resources that we've shown, you know, when you come back.
Sure. If you can't find the Utne Reader thing when you
Right.
come back, call that number after the 20th of this month, and I've still got some
Yes.
issues of both of these publications. We have tapes that I'd be glad to show at meetings
Right.
that you would have. We can
And-
make copies of some of them. There's a lot of support across the nets. There's a lot of support for all of us to use a lot of these materials, so
Right.
there's plenty available for that. there's some fine initiatives that are starting to go on already in Montana and in this area of the state. So we know of some of them now through the conference, and we'll be able to share those. And
Right.
for sure, if you're doing some things, please let us know.
There's 11 months left, or there will be pretty much by the time you see this. So many, many, many things will be happening this year, and we will be available here locally working on the Y2K issue. We encourage you to call your public officials, your newspapers, your doctors, hospitals,
Pharmacists and hospitals,
your fire
please.
department, your emergency services. All these people have a stake in how this will be dealt with here on a local level. Community preparedness is why we're holding this program right now and coming to you with this information.
We hope very much, both Rick and I and a lot of others, that this won't happen make it as difficult, let's say, for all of us. We hope that it won't make it as difficult as sometimes it seems. That's what our hope is. And if we prepare together, it can't hurt. It can only bring the community closer together as whoever wants to be involved in whatever groups they want to be involved in. And it will help show us where the real resources of people are in this community.
That's
A
right.
lot of folks around the globe are starting to do this, and that's what it's going to bring out for us. And I hope very much that we all understand that we're trying to prepare so that we can take care of ourselves in the best way and be as positive about this as possible.
Right.
But we know for a matter of fact, as what has been shown to you by Steve Hawk and Cynthia Beale and many others that are in this field representing just community preparedness from an honest standpoint, that it is going to affect things all around the globe. And the best thing that we can do is to take care of ourselves, help each other and our families in small units, take care of our neighbors that can't take care of themselves, or at least know what their needs are, talk to people around us in the community that are involved in business or agencies and organizations that we depend on.
Right.
Help them to prepare, help them to be serious about it. That's the whole issue.
And Phoenix Rising, that number again is 5490452, is a virtual storehouse of information and articles from different things that have happened, over this last year, communications and, information from a wide variety of subjects and subject fields, and, to help in this issue.
Yeah, we've got news clips, and we have test results from companies that are industrial companies that have started tests and what they found out, which has been pretty interesting
Yeah.
all over the globe. And that's been before they were required to do so. But we know that there are reports that all the biggest organizations in the world are making to the government. They're called Q10 reports. And Steve Hawk, for instance, is
10Q.
privy to having 10Q.
Right, of the
Q10.
SEC.
I always did that with Y2K for a while, too. But 10Q reports are available. They're public. They're
Right.
a public disclosure. There are ways that you can find out about these things without necessarily believing any one bent.
Right.
So we hope you further your education and do the best you can to find out what you need to help your own family and yourselves.
Right. Thank you for watching our program tonight, and we will be signing off now.
And have a great year.
And have a great year. And thanks to all of our crew who have helped with the program, John and Philomena, Nan and Lori in the back there. Nan's directing tonight, and also Virginia. And also thanks to MCAT for having this great resource for us to come and be able to do our own shows here for the community.
For sure.
Thank
Heads
you.
up.
Good evening and welcome to Center to the Left, one of MCAT's newest shows. The goal of Center to the Left is to provide a forum for the progressive community in Missoula. In the last few weeks, we've had shows that have covered the bison slaughter issue down in Yellowstone. We've looked at the implications of the Y2K computer virus and how it might affect individuals in this town. We've also looked at some of the legislative issues and the living wage issue. Tonight we're here to discuss some of the logging practices that are going on in central Idaho, often referred to generally as the Cove Mallard area, and tonight we're specifically going to address the issues and logging in the Otter Wing area. With me tonight I have three activists who have spent time out in Idaho. Two are based here in Missoula and one is often based here in Missoula. We have Jesse Baldwin, Jeremy O'Day, and Mike Bowersox. And why don't we just spend a couple minutes letting these folks talk about themselves. So Jesse, what are you up to here in Missoula? Why are you an activist on these issues?
I came to Missoula and I had heard a lot about Cove Mallard, and I finally wanted to get down there and get a chance to see the area. And when I went down to the forest, I actually just fell in love with the trees and what was going on. And to see that this is all being destroyed really hit my heart, and I wanted to be able to do something about it.
How about you, Jeremy?
Yes, I've lived here for about 3 years or so, and I've been familiar with the Cove Mallard Otter Wing issue for probably about 2 or 3 years since I've been here. And like Jesse, I went over there and fell in love with what was going on. I saw what was going on with the illegal logging practices by the Forest Service, and found that I disagreed with a lot of it. And as a representative of the American public, I figured I'd do something about it.
And you, Mike?
I've been involved with protesting logging in Idaho since 1993. I work with a group called Seeds of Peace, and the first year that I went up there, I went on this 8-hour crazy bushwhack down to Little Mallard Creek when they were building the Noble timber sale, and I just fell in love because it was the most wildest place I'd ever been, and I couldn't contemplate the incredibly terrible plans that they have for that. And this summer, being in Otter Wing is very similar to Cove Mallard. It's another wild, beautiful place. So I've spent tons of time hiking there, and my heart is in that place.
So Mike, could you tell us a little bit, give us a brief overview of the whole Cove Mallard campaign over the last few years? What's the landscape like? How does it fit into the overall picture of the forests and the Northern Rockies ecosystem?
Basically, Cove Mallard itself is a biological corridor that is sandwiched between 3 protected wilderness areas: the Selway, Bitterroot, the Frank Church River of No Return, and the Gospel Hump. That forms the largest intact ecosystem that we have in the lower 48 states. It's altogether approximately about 16 million acres, 9 million of which are unprotected. Cove Mallard links those areas as a vital biological corridor, and Otter Wing is another area. It's part of the Wing 20-mile roadless area, and it is on the northern border of Gospel Hump. It is the last area that has clean tributaries that flow into the South Fork of the Clearwater, which has been really hammered by the Forest Service's pro-development, pro-timber stance.
Why don't we, for our viewers, trying to get a picture of sort of where this is in Idaho on the map in the upper corner up here. And while we're getting centered on that picture and the maps, I forgot to mention earlier, we air the show on Sunday at 8 and Thursdays at 11. And upcoming, we're going to have some more discussions of the living wage issues, and we're also going to be looking at some of the growth management issues in Missoula. There you see Otter Wing, and it's right above the Gospel Hump. If we can move up to the white map and get the whole picture of Idaho in there. Can we get that? I guess we're have to move on from there. Maybe we can get you a shot later as to how it fits in Idaho. But so, Mike, back to you. Why don't you tell us? Oh, there we go. If you see the map of Idaho there, and in the center you see the 3 different wilderness areas. If we can get any closer there, you see an arrow pointing to the area that's sort of white. Yeah, there we go. Up north is the Selway Wilderness. Below that's the Frank Church, and the little black spot to the left of that is the Gospel Hump. And that space in between is the areas we're talking about in Cove Mallard and Otter Wing. Mike, going back to you, what type of violations are going on up in these areas?
Essentially, what we found from doing on-the-ground monitoring in both Cove Mallard and Otter Wing is that the Forest Service has continually and blatantly broken the laws that are designed to protect endangered species. In these areas, we have 4 endangered species, the lynx, bull trout, steelhead, and Chinook salmon. And all of these species need clean water and clean water quality. Both Cove Mallard and Otter Wing contain critical habitat for these species. What we found is areas where the Forest Service has outlying units, and in Cove Mallard, the Jack and Noble sales, we found that those have been logged and they violated packfish boundaries, which are the minimum standards to protect water quality. So they're breaking the Endangered Species Act.
So for our viewers here who might not understand, what are these packfish boundaries? Could you describe that a little more clearly as to what's needed to protect these streams?
Basically what the Forest Service is supposed to do on a seep or spring is give them buffers, which means from a cutting unit boundary, there's supposed to be a 100-foot buffer for a seep or a spring. For a non-fish-bearing stream, it's 150 feet. For a fish-bearing stream, it's 300 feet. And we found that they've broken this all over the Otter Wing timber sale in numerous units. Another problem is the road courses. The road courses are in very steep areas. The terrain in Otter Wing goes from 3,000 to 6,000 feet. The roads are falling apart.
How about the soils up there? I've heard there's a problem with the soils.
Basically, the Idaho batholith, which is what the entire greater Salmon-Selway ecosystem lies on, is thin granitic soils. If you cut into these soils or cut over seeps and streams, and believe me, the roads that they build in these roadless areas just go over hundreds of streams. This soil is very subject to erosion when it's exposed. When you have very steep slopes that you're cutting or road building on, they try and do grass mats and slash windrows, and they just, they don't work. We've seen numerous examples of them not working. They do ridiculous things like put hay bales down on culverts, and they just disintegrate. The reality of this is that the Forest Service is blatantly breaking our environmental laws and implementing these sales.
So how are the courts treating all this then? Has it been taken to the courts at all?
We have taken the Cove Mallard sales to the courts twice. Unfortunately, those courts, especially in Idaho, the judges in those courts are not sympathetic to environmental regulations. We've unfortunately been overruled both in Judge Boyle's court, Judge Lodge's court, and unfortunately due to Reagan and Bush, we have a very much more conservative Ninth Circuit judiciary, and they have just not. We've gotten conservative judges, and we've lost. Otter Wing is now in court before Judge Lodge, but we're not real hopeful, unfortunately. That leaves us with direct action and
That's just what I was gonna.
citizen pressure.
That's just what I was gonna ask. It seems like, you know, some of these legal challenges aren't working, so people are sort of taking upon themselves that when they feel morally that these sales are wrong, that the damage is obviously happening, to go up there. So what type of activities are the protesters undertaking if they go up to Idaho, if they take and challenge these sales? We'll have to be sort of brief on this.
Okay. Briefly, we do monitoring of violations, and we send that to appropriate officials with letters, like the chief of the Forest Service, President Al Gore. We try that. That hasn't worked. They haven't responded, and then we take direct action. Nonviolent civil disobedience, that has included road blockades, one of which lasted 40 days, one of which lasted 74 days. This summer, we did one road blockade, and in order to stop construction on the P lines and the destruction of these incredible grand firs that are 500 or 600 years old, we did 5 separate tree sits. We also went to Region 1 and did a tree sit to force Dale Bosworth, the regional forester, to at least acknowledge there was a problem with this sale and give evidence to him.
That's sort of a good introduction to what's coming up. Over the next half hour or 35 minutes or so, we're going to be looking at some footage from these protests. There's some based in Missoula, some out in Grangeville, where the Nez Perce headquarters is. Missoula has the Regional Forest Service headquarters. But most of the footage is going to be out in the woods, taking a look at some of the activists and some of the direct action that goes on out there. And then we'll come back to the studio and discuss that footage a little bit. And some of these protesters with me are actually facing some charges, and we're going to talk briefly with them about what type of charges they're facing. So here we go. We're going to roll onto that footage here. Okay, we're
arrest for blocking the entrance of a federal building.
I hope you got a witness, because I didn't do it.
Video!
You need to shout, bro.
Okay. Come with me, please.
Wait, you're not even a police officer. How can you arrest them?
Oh, they give them guns. They can do anything they want, remember?
looking at here is the boundary of Unit 26, and we're measuring the riparian boundary to a little intermittent stream, which is supposed to have a 100-foot buffer, and we're going to go ahead and follow the tape here. You can hear the water now.
Supposed to be 100, right?
100 feet.
48 right here, I'm over the middle.
We're in Unit 26. Yep. Just gotta. There we go. There you can see. That's 49 feet right there. And there's the creek. Clear violation of PACFISH standards to protect steelhead, salmon, and bull.
Friday, August 14th.
There's a monkey in that tree.
Mm-hmm.
choice. Be part of the destruction or do something to defend the earth. Defend the earth. Do what you can, do what you must, but just do something to defend the earth. Defend the earth. Do what you can, do what you must, but just do something to defend the earth. Defend the earth. Do what you can, do what you must, but just do something to defend the earth. Defend the earth. Do what you can, do what you must, but just do something to defend the earth. Defend the earth.
Love you, Ozzy!
Well, we followed that. I don't know what he hopes to accomplish with that. Probably just stability in case it bumps. I'm going to try and slide her out off of her platform, head first into the basket.
You got a hand first, or leg first?
I got her nose. Just sliding right in. Oh, what a... Oh. Unbelievable.
Tipping her in there?
I just cut her prusik line and was just sliding her into the bucket.
Hey, easy.
Arresting officer.
You don't have to hurt her! Yeah.
Where's she going on?
Oh, they're not going to tell you. She'll go to Idaho County for tonight and then Boise tomorrow. I'd say this time of year they'll probably take the train.
I suppose you're probably right. As long as you guys don't jeopardize my immediate ability to perform my job, which I'm going to do today, you know, I'm not interested in interfering with you guys. So if you'll allow me to do what I need to do, that you go ahead and do it.
Elaine, cut that tree that close! Hey, Colin! Yeah, it's posted!
We're in Union 26, just one of the ridge areas, and we're taking a look around. You can see a pretty incredible old-growth ponderosa, and if you look around, we have a pretty diverse understory. Some smaller firs coming up in the shade of the ponderosas, and then more big ponderosas. Okay, we're in Unit 26. What we're looking at here is a riparian area greater than 1 acre in size. There's no buffer around it at all. You can see the blue mark to the leaf tree. I guess they're going to leave trees inside a riparian zone, but apparently they're going to go ahead and helicopter log right in one against their own Forest Amendment 20 and pack fish regulations.
Grumble seemed to be
Okay.
slammed with it, and Steve at Canada Center.
Unit 26.
Yeah, he's been sick since I got here.
Looking at is a repairing area that they're going straight across. You see like tags. It's really bright for some reason in this.
Against the wall, cut the tree when somebody's in the way. Please don't fall this tree.
I'll do up a report on you guys' stuff that's gotten destroyed or taken.
Okay.
I mean, we have some suspects. Ever proven it, you know, maybe
Hard
you
to
can
say.
pick out somebody, you know. But I want to talk to you guys now about what kind of situation we're in and whatnot, and I'd appreciate if you'd turn that off.
Did I? I mean,
What I'm aware
Well,
of what situation.
Do what? Well, no, I just want to talk to you guys. Anybody hurt?
No, and
I mean,
obviously we don't.
it's fine if you're against what's going on here, but stay up on the side, protest it from there, or do it out at the buildings in Grangeville, wherever you guys go out there and do that. But don't get in the way of these guys out here trying to work, because you're jeopardizing their family and their lives. And you know, they're really getting at wit's end on it.
But so what you're trying, okay, what I'm trying to understand here is that you've talked to people that you suspect that might have been here threatening us with death threats.
Well,
and then,
the people I've talked to are the people that
Who
you
are
guys have
working
told
on
me
this road.
that you told me has been up here and whatnot.
okay,
And yeah,
so,
there is some problems, you know. I mean, you can sit there. You and Malcolm were cussing back and forth the other day out there at each other.
oh, maybe.
Yeah.
You know.
We've actually had some okay talks with Malcolm.
Yeah.
I
And
know
Malcolm's
that
not a bad
Malcolm
guy.
is
He's really not.
He just gets
stressed out
incited by the other
and
people.
worried
and
about
drunk.
his family. And our, you know,
Getting overly intoxicated.
while it ends up that, in a way, what's happening here right now is not allowing him to build a road. He's just following a contract, and we don't have anything against Malcolm or what he does,
yeah.
or really even, you know, want to have a conflict with Malcolm. We do have a conflict
But you
with
do.
the policy.
But you do have a conflict with these guys that are working, because if they can't work, they don't get paid. If they don't get paid, they can't pay their bills. If they can't pay their bills, places start repossessing stuff.
Okay,
You know, it's a chain, and it just keeps going. All I'm saying is take the matter serious.
We
mean,
definitely
you know,
are.
We take it
if they
very
show up,
serious.
Feared for our life.
don't argue with them. Just get the hell over the ridge. Go a mile or two back there and set your camp up. You know, the best thing to do is just move out of here.
We're rallying here to protest the Otter Wing and Mackey Day timber sales. They're in the Wing Creek 20-mile area, which is about 15 miles southeast of here. It's directly adjacent to the Gospel Home Wilderness area. Like Josh said, the environmental impact statement for these timber sales were made in 1989. That's 9 years ago. The general rule of thumb for EISs is if it's 5 years old, you do a new one. This is 9 years old and they're still proceeding. And this area was a roadless area a year ago before they started building the roads for this sale. This EIS is ridiculously out of date. Since 1989, steelhead, bull trout, and Chinook salmon have all been listed under the Endangered Species Act. Lynx is going to be listed under the Endangered Species Act by the end of this month, and wolves are also listed. All 5 of those species either live in or near the Wing Creek 20-mile area. When will the Nez Perce National Forest get it that there's a reason these animals are disappearing? When will they get it that they have to stop building new roads and gutting our roadless areas?
Well, see, what it all boils down to is you know, you guys are going to have to make a choice. You know, we don't want to have nobody get hurt up here. You guys are them guys. And that's what you're dealing with. You got to be aware that, you know, by the time we get the call, the rest of your camp goods could be burned.
But then,
you know, or somebody could fall out of a tree again and get hurt or something.
With the evidence that we've given you and our like statements that we've given you, is in my mind, and probably in if it went through a court of law, in a court of law's mind, you guys should be able to do something to stop that from happening.
To stop what?
To stop them from killing us.
How do we know who's going to come up here? What are we going to do? Sit down here at the gate 24 hours a day? You know, if you stay, then you're taking a risk. You know, and you know that.
Yeah, we're aware.
And you know, I just want you to be aware that you know, the people that you've named that were up here, some of these people are not just blowhards. You know, they have concerns. And I don't know who all was up here last night.
Can't understand destruction of property and wanton violence. That's what I can't relate to that. And I'm saying that we're not being violent here, and we haven't been violent. We have a track record of never being violent, and they have a complete record of being very violent. It's already happened. It's going to happen some more, and you know it. So although you can't be here 24 hours a day, I do think that you can know that this is an area of heightened concern.
You know, I don't know if you was up at Dixie and in that area, but Mike was, and a lot of times they'd call, you know, and they had better communications up there than what you guys do here. You know, they could run down and call, and hell, I could be up there in 5-10 minutes. And by the time I got there, half of them were already gone, weren't they, Mike? You know, and we'd get a description of a vehicle, no plate, or, you know, and nothing matches up. You know, and out here,
Last time you stopped Monty with firearms in his car after
there's no law
he tried to after he tried to shoot me, and there is a law against
maybe
that.
I need to bring you your statement that you wrote, get a copy of it, because that's not what you said. And don't stand here and fill me full of bullshit.
He chased me through the woods and shot a weapon off.
He shot a weapon off. He did not shoot a weapon at you.
I've been standing here for 800 years, and if I had me some they've been welling up with tears. I heard a rumor take wings, fly on by with the spotted owl. I heard a rumor that sings last night when the coyotes howl. They sing, there is a mighty big beaver coming to cut me down. It take a mighty big beaver to lay this grandma down. To lay me down, it take a mighty big beaver. All the animals flee, they just up and run away. But I got my roots deep in the earth, so I just stand right here and wait. Now you folks ain't got no time to waste, something must be done. I just stand here and take my fate, because I cannot run, I cannot run, I cannot run. I'd like to be standing here for another 800 years. And I'd like to watch the generations take root in the earth. And when I finally fall, I want to lay down and stay right here. But them beavers got it written in their plans to haul me away on a truck next year. Now you folks ain't got no time to waste, something must be done. I just stand here and take my fate, because I cannot run, I cannot run, I cannot run, I cannot run, I cannot run. But I've been standing here for 800 years. But if I had me some eyes, they'd be welling up with tears. I heard a rumor take wings, fly on by with the spotted owl. I heard a rumor that sings last night when the coyotes howl. They sing, there is a mighty big beaver coming to cut me down. It take a mighty big beaver to lay this grandma down. It take a mighty big beaver to lay this grandma down. It take a mighty big beaver to lay this grandma down. To lay me down and take a mighty big beaver. To lay me down and take a mighty big beaver. To lay me down and take a mighty big beaver. To lay me down.
At the door. Not yet. It's about 20 seconds.
You're knocking over the traffic here. Yeah, that's a good place for you guys to be standing. One more whack ought to do it. Into the creek. Boy, that was fun, wasn't it, fellas?
Welcome back. First off, I'd just like to say that that's not the typical day in the woods up in Otter Wing. This is definitely some of the more intense scenes that were captured on camera. Mike, what's the legality of these loggers working in the area with protesters around like that?
Although the Nez Perce National Forest law enforcement has allowed it, and some of the footage you saw, they weren't in the area that day. Later on, they maintained 24-hour security, and they were there when the Sawyers were working, but essentially during our first and second tree sits, they're supposed to not be working at all if anyone is within 300 feet of them. That's the federal standard for work safety, and they definitely violated that over and over again in cutting in that area. In addition, the actual building was of the road was completely illegal. They had no approval from National Marine Fisheries Service or U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. They'd not completed a cumulative biological assessment for the South Fork of the Clearwater River, and they lied to a federal judge and said they weren't building a road on August 14th when we were there and we knew they were building a road, and then they came back and said, oh, we are building a road, and they continued to build that road totally illegally. Then those agencies let them slide on September 3rd during another tree sit and said, oh, it's okay to build the road now. It's not going to have a significant impact, but we know it is. These are the only pristine streams up there.
So you all were all arrested up there this summer. Could you tell me, Jeremy, a little bit about your situation, why you got arrested, what charges you might be, well, I guess you've already faced your charges, and what possible sentence you might be facing?
Yes, I was arrested and charged with aiding and abetting the maintenance of a structure. Early September, I went down to the Outer Wing area and heard that an individual who had been sitting in a tree for 8 days had gone probably 4 or 5 without food or water. Upon hearing that, I attempted to attach a bottle of water to a rope that he was hanging down from his plywood platform, hence the structure. I was arrested and later tried, several months later, found guilty, and I'm facing up to 6 months in jail, $500 fine, and some probation.
How about you, Jesse? What's the situation with your arrest?
I was arrested at the same time that Jeremy was for the same charges for attempting to bring food and water to a person in a tree, and I was found not guilty, which is great, and I'm ready to do support for everyone else who has been found guilty. And we do need a lot of people to give support for letters and visiting, because this is just terrible to see people that love the forest and are out there defending it be put away in jail. This is ridiculous.
And how about you, Mike? What's your situation in respect to the law?
I'm facing a year in jail. I was convicted for blockading the Outer Wing timber sale by being in a dragon on July 28th when they first started road construction up there illegally. And yeah, I could face up to a year in jail. This is my 4th arrest in Idaho, so I'm kind of in a little bit of trouble.
So for folks out there that want to get more involved, that want to do something to see these sales stopped, or to want to help some of the protesters, you can get more involved. There's groups both in Idaho and here in Missoula that are working to stop these sales. Could we get the information? You can write or call the Cove Mallard Coalition, Box 8968, Moscow, Idaho, zip code 83843, and the number out there is 208-882-9755, and that's cove@moscow.com. If you want to get more involved, if you want to learn how you can help financially, contact these people. And then here in Missoula, you can contact the Native Forest Network, and that's Box 8251, Missoula, Montana, 59807, and that's 542-7343. That's nfn@wildrockies.org, O-R-G. And what's really important right now is to keep the pressure on the Forest Service. What would have to happen is for them to buy out this timber sale. And you can write the Forest Service. Dale Bosworth is the regional supervisor. And if we can get that up there, it's the Forest Service Region 1, Box 7669, Missoula, Montana, 59807. Or give them a call. Tell them what you think about all this at 329-3315. Or you could go all the way to Washington and contact the Chief of the Forest Service, and that's Mike Dombeck, Chief Mike Dombeck, the U.S. Forest Service at 14th and Independence Southeast in Washington, D.C., 20009. We'd like to thank you again for joining us this evening, and I want to remind you we're on Sundays at 8 o'clock, and we repeat the show at Thursday morning at 11. And upcoming, we're going to be having some more talks about the living wage, both in Missoula and generally for the state. We're also going to be doing some shows on growth management in Missoula, and probably have some more environmental shows in the future and other issues of importance to the progressive community. Thanks for joining us tonight.